welcome to this month's edition of the Denver Housing Market Update. My name's Torrey Drake. I'm a local Denver realtor, and today we're going to talk about what the heck is going on in the Denver housing market, what's changed in the past month or so. Then we're going to cover topics such as, is a price correction coming? How are interest rates rising going to affect housing prices? And how is inflation being at a record high of 6% also going to affect housing prices? We're going to dive into all of that right here, right now. So let's get started. So first off, let's talk about the numbers and what has changed. Let's talk about active listings first. The amount of active homes for sale in the Denver housing market is 1,184. The amount of homes we closed in the past 30 days is 2,847. The average close price is $609,132. And the average days on market, meaning how long it takes a home to sell, is 20, but honestly, I would call that more 3, 4, 5 if you're looking at homes that are actually prepared well for sale. Homes that are prepared for sale sell in 3 or 4 days, and homes that are just thrown on the market take much, much longer, which is what's skewing that number a little bit. So even though it's 20, I would really call it 4 or 5. So right out the gate, you can see that some numbers are starting to come down a little bit, which is the first question people are going to have in their mind of, oh my God, is this the crash? Are we starting to go into reversal? Is this the correction? I would say calm down. No, it's not. I would remind you that I'd ask you the question that, hey, if you were driving 120 miles per hour on the freeway and you slowed down to 100 miles per hour, are you still going fast? Did you technically slow down? Yes, you slowed down. Are you still going absurdly fast in comparison to how fast you should be going? Also, yes. That's the same thing right now, these numbers coming down. We were going in 2020 and 2021, we were going like 120 miles per hour on the freeway. We were in the most competitive, hot housing market in history. And now we're starting to slow down a little bit. That doesn't mean a crash is coming and a correction is coming. It just means it's starting to slow down a little bit, but we are still going obscenely fast. In fact, I want to pull up a chart real quick here. You can see in Denver is one of the top, Denver is one of the cities that had the most amount of home appreciation in all of America. We had 18.6% in through 2020 and 2021. But can you imagine being in Phoenix, Arizona at 30%? That's just insane. But we had 18%. And of all these cities that had incredible amounts of appreciation, this study is from CoreLogic, which is basically the gold standard here in the real estate market across America. And they predicted there's going to be a price correction in 5 housing markets. But as you can see, that was Arizona, California, Arizona, Connecticut, and I think it's Massachusetts, Missouri. I don't know, one of those. And Denver is not predicted to be one of the housing markets that's experiencing a price correction. Why is that? Well, once again, it's because the incredible amount of demand that Denver is experiencing right now. Everybody's moving to Colorado. Everybody's moving to Denver. We have such a demand for our housing. And here's a really good example of that. Is remember the number we had like 1,182 homes for sale, basically 1,200 homes. Look at this. This is the amount of showings we had right here. This is the amount of showings we had in January. The final couple of weeks of January, we had basically 26,000 showings. We have 1,200 homes in the market and 26,000 showings across Denver. So that's giving you an idea of the level of demand that we have and why we're not seeing a price correction anytime soon. The next big common question is, okay, what about a wave of foreclosures coming in? We had a lot of people behind on the mortgage, right? Are we going to see a wave of foreclosures coming to the housing market? Great question. For that, I'm going to pull up this graph from Keeping Current Matters that's going to show you that we are actually at a record low level of people in forbearance. And I'm not just talking about record low for the past couple of years. We are actually, CoreLogic put a study out, or an article out saying that we have less people behind on the mortgage than we did before the pandemic. And it's not like before the pandemic we were all worried about a bunch of foreclosures happening. So we're at a record level of low of people who are behind on their mortgage. And of those people, I'm going to pull this graph up here, the people who are in forbearance, basically 38.6% of them were able to pay their mortgage in full. If they were behind 6 months, they were able to pay that 6 months in full. The next 44% were able to work a repayment plan out. The most common repayment plan for people to use right now is, let's say they missed 6 payments. The lender will just add those 6 payments to the end of their loan. So instead of saying, hey, give us those 6 months or get out, they're saying, hey, we'll take those 6 months you missed, and we'll put them at the end of your loan, and we'll just carry on. And then 17% of people in forbearance are still in trouble. Now, I don't want to minimize that 17% by any means, because 17% is no joke, and anybody behind in the mortgage is a very scary position. But in terms of the conversation of, is a bunch of foreclosures coming, not only are we at a record level of low, but of that record level of low, only 17% are in actual trouble. Once again, I'm not making light of that 17%. I'm just saying it doesn't really look like a bunch of wave of foreclosures are going to be coming to the housing market here in Denver. Next up, interest rates. Interest rates are rising. The big question is rising interest rates going to, pause buyer demand, or at least slow it down enough for prices to come down a little bit? Maybe, possibly, but here's where interest rates are at right now. This is just February right here. We got the 3.5 to 3.6%. Now, putting that into perspective of where we've been, here's a chart to show the current, to show interest rates in the last 5 decades. As you can see, we're right here where this blue line is, current rate around that 3.5%. Even though interest rates are rising, we are still behind where we were in the 2010s, because as you can see, that was about, whoops, that was eraser. As you can see, we're at 4% in the 2010s, and before that, we were at 6.27% in the 2000s, and before that, we were at 8.12. So even if interest rates rise to that 4% by the end of the year, we are still going to be below where we've been in recent history. Once they go above 4%, we're still going to be on par with where we've been in recent history. Could that slow buyer demand down? Maybe, maybe not, but interest rates have risen in the past few months, and they've risen quite a bit, from below 3 to about 3.5%, and buyer demand is still through the roof. So at least for this year in 2022, we don't see any slowdown. At least I'm not seeing any slowdown due to rising interest rates, because we're still going to be lower than we've been in recent history. I hope that makes sense. Last but not least, let's talk about the oh-so-fun topic of inflation. Inflation is at 6% right now, right? That is super duper not fun. But let's look at how inflation has historically affected housing prices, or how they've worked together. I'm going to pull this chart up right here. And as you can see, the blue bar is inflation, and the green bar is house price appreciation. And as you can see, the green bar is pretty much always above the blue bar, meaning house price appreciation has outperformed inflation. So if you have your money in homes, whether it's a home or several homes, you're going to be making more money than you would be losing to inflation. So is it looking like a good time to buy a home right now? I would say it looks like an even better time to buy a home than ever, because inflation is so high. You need to put your money somewhere where it's going to outperform inflation, so you're not losing money. And just this past year alone, we're at that 6.8% inflation, and we have 18% housing price appreciation here in Denver. So is it a good time to buy a home? Absolutely. Is inflation, this is a bad time for inflation? Absolutely. But putting your money into a home protects it from losing value. Now, next up, how inflation is going to affect rental prices is the green bar here represents how much rental prices appreciate, how much they go up in line with inflation. As you can see, the more inflation goes up, the more rental prices go up. So rent does not unfortunately go down due to inflation; it goes up. And as you can see, right around here, the rent prices are way above where inflation is at. So it's an even worse time than ever to rent, because you're going to be renting at an astronomically higher rate. And if inflation continues to go up, which hopefully it won't, that just means rental prices will continue to go up as well, because historically that's what we've seen. Inflation goes up, rental prices go up. Speaking of appreciation, what are we expecting to see in the next 4 years after 2026? Well, this is a study done by Keeping Current Matters, another fantastic resource to get housing market information. They don't really do their own information. They just pull from all the different studies going on and put some fantastic articles out. As you can see, we have pessimists saying we're going to see in the next 4 years 23%, basically 24% appreciation, and optimists saying 62%. For Denver housing prices, that means housing prices, if we're talking the median or the average price of homes in Denver being $609,000, housing prices are going to increase anywhere from $183,000 to about $360,000 over the course of the next 4 years. Now, what does that mean for buyers and sellers? That means housing, even though prices are increasing, it's still a great time to buy because you can ride that wave of appreciation over the course of the next 4 years. Now, we're not saying after 4 years the market's going to crash or anything weird's going to happen. This is just the data we've predicted for the next 4 years. So, good time to buy or sell. Ultimately, only you can answer that. But in terms of will you see a price appreciation in whatever home you buy, the answer to that looks like it's going to be yes. And last but not least, we have Bill Smead here, who's a consultant for what's the website again? CNBC. So Bill Smead did a talk with CNBC, basically saying, and he runs a big hedge fund in New York, that because the stock market is not performing so well right now, he thinks it's an amazing time to go buy real estate, to take that money and instead put in real estate. So if real estate's good enough for Bill Smead, who runs one of the biggest hedge funds in New York, I think it should be good enough for people like you and I who just want to make sure we're putting our money somewhere worthwhile. Well, I hope that this video was helpful. That is the Denver housing market update. Once again, we are staying really competitive. We're going to continuing to see price appreciation. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I have a bunch of free ebooks for both buyers and sellers below that you can download completely for free, just to put out some helpful information. All right, once again, my name's Torrey Drake, Denver Realtor here. I appreciate your time so much and have a great day.